Hey everyone, welcome back to English Leap Podcast. I'm Jenie, and today we're going to tell you something that native speakers do but never talk about.
And I'm Brian. Yeah, Jeannie asked me about this before we started recording, and honestly, I'd never really thought about it consciously. But once she explained it, I realized I do this all the time.
Right? And that's the thing. Native speakers do this so naturally that we don't even realize we're doing it. We don't teach it, we don't talk about it, but it's the thing that makes us sound fluent.
So what is this trick?
Well, we're going to explain the whole thing today. But basically, it's about how native speakers listen. It's about what native speakers focus on when someone is speaking.
And learners don't do this?
No, learners do the opposite. Learners are trained to listen for individual words, to understand every single word. But native speakers, we listen for something else entirely.
Okay, this is interesting. Let's talk about this.
This is going to change how you think about listening and speaking.
Okay, so let's start with what learners do. Walk me through a typical learner listening to English.
So a learner is listening to someone speak English, and they're thinking, I need to understand every word. If I miss one word, I'll lose understanding. So I'm focusing hard on each individual word.
Like word by word?
Exactly, word by word, which means their brain is working super hard. They're translating, they're looking up words mentally, they're stressed about understanding everything.
And native speakers?
Native speakers do something totally different. We don't listen for words. We listen for patterns and meaning and energy.
What do you mean patterns?
So, like, if someone says, I'm really frustrated because my boss doesn't understand my ideas, and I feel like I'm not being heard, a learner might focus on understanding each word, but a native speaker focuses on the overall pattern and emotion.
So we get the meaning without focusing on every word?
Exactly. We pick up on the emotional tone. We notice the stress patterns. We understand the general meaning. And we don't need to understand every single word to know what the person is saying.
And that makes us sound more fluent?
It makes us both sound and feel more fluent. Because when you're listening for overall patterns instead of individual words, you're relaxed. You're not stressed. And when you're relaxed, you can respond naturally. When you're stressed about understanding every word, you freeze up.
So the trick is to listen for patterns instead of words?
It's not just about listening. It's about a whole different approach to language. It's about focusing on meaning and emotion and energy instead of correctness and individual words.
How does this apply to speaking?
When you're speaking, instead of thinking about each word and if it's correct, you focus on what you're trying to communicate. You focus on the emotion. You focus on connecting with the person, and the words just come out naturally.
But why does this actually work? Why is pattern listening more effective than word-by-word listening?
Because that's how human communication actually works. We don't communicate word by word. We communicate through patterns and emotion and context.
What do you mean?
So think about a conversation. Someone says something. Your brain doesn't process it word by word like a computer. Your brain gets the overall feeling and meaning almost instantly. And most of that meaning comes from tone, context, and patterns, not from individual words.
So understanding comes from multiple things at once.
Exactly. Understanding comes from the words, yes, but also from the tone of voice, the speed, the pauses, the facial expressions, the energy. Everything together creates meaning.
So learners who focus only on words are missing all that context.
They're ignoring most of the communication. They're focused on one channel, the words, and ignoring all the other channels that native speakers use.
So when a learner starts listening for patterns, what happens?
Everything clicks. Suddenly they understand so much more because they're using their full brain instead of just their language processor. They're using their emotional intelligence. They're using their intuition. They're using all of it together.
And confidence?
Confidence goes way up. Because when you're not stressed about understanding every word, you're not stressed, you're relaxed. And when you're relaxed, you can think, you can respond, you can participate in conversation naturally.
So the 1% trick is really about shifting your focus from words to patterns.
Yes, it's a total mindset shift. From word-focused to pattern-focused, from perfect-focused to meaning-focused, from technical to emotional.
Okay, so how does this actually change listening comprehension, like concretely?
So imagine you're listening to a podcast. Someone is talking about their job. A word-focused learner would panic if they miss a word. They'd think, I didn't understand that word. I'm lost. I don't understand this podcast.
But a pattern-focused listener?
A pattern-focused listener notices the energy. The person is talking about their job. They sound frustrated. they're talking about challenges, and the listener understands the overall meaning. They missed some words, but they got the message.
But didn't they miss something?
Maybe one word or two words, but they didn't miss the message. And that's what matters. You can miss words and still understand perfectly.
So this works for movies, for conversations?
For everything. Movies, podcasts, conversations, videos, music. Anywhere English is spoken, this works.
What about fast English, fast native speakers?
That's where this trick really shines. Fast English is hard to understand word by word, but if you're listening for patterns, speed doesn't matter as much. You get the rhythm, you get the overall meaning. You don't need to catch every word.
So fast English becomes easier?
Much easier, because you're not trying to catch every word. You're riding the wave of the conversation. You're feeling the pattern. That's native speaker listening. And this trick changes speaking too, in a huge way.
How?
When you're speaking, learners are usually thinking, is this word correct? Is this grammar right? Am I saying this perfectly? And while they're thinking that, they freeze up. They can't speak naturally.
But if you shift focus...
If you shift focus to meaning and emotion instead of correctness, you speak naturally. Your brain isn't checking every word. Your brain is focused on communicating the idea.
And people understand you better?
Infinitely better. Because you're speaking like a human, not like a computer. You have flow, you have emotion, you have natural rhythm.
Even if you make mistakes?
Yes, even if you make mistakes. Because people are listening for meaning, not for perfection. Just like native speakers listen for patterns, not words.
So it's the same trick for both listening and speaking?
It's the same principle. Focus on meaning and patterns instead of words and correctness. That's the 1% trick.
And this makes you fluent?
This is what fluency is. Fluency is not perfect grammar. Fluency is the ability to communicate naturally without thinking about every word.
Okay, so can you give me real examples of native speakers doing this?
Sure. So yesterday I was having coffee with my friend, and she was telling me about her weekend. She said, "We went to the beach and it was so crowded, but we had fun anyway, and the food was amazing."
That's a pretty casual sentence.
Right. No perfect grammar. The sentences are kind of jumbled. But did I understand? Completely. Because I wasn't listening for grammar. I was listening for the pattern. Beach, crowded, fun, food, amazing. I got it.
Another one?
Another one? In meetings at work, I hear native speakers all the time saying things like, "So the thing is, right, we need to think about the budget, but also the timeline, and it's kind of a complex situation, you know?"
That's very casual, very non-formal.
Right. No perfect structure, but perfect meaning. Everyone in the meeting understands. We're focused on the idea, not on the grammar.
So native speakers never speak in perfect grammar?
In formal writing, yes. In formal presentations, often yes. But in casual conversation, rarely. We're focused on communication, not correctness.
So learners who are trying to speak perfectly are actually speaking unnaturally.
Yes. Perfect grammar in casual conversation sounds weird. It sounds formal or robotic.
I want to tell you about a student named Priya from India who experienced this breakthrough.
Tell me.
Priya had been studying English for years. She was a very careful, methodical learner. She would listen to English podcasts, and she would pause the podcast after every sentence to look up words she didn't understand.
So she was being super thorough?
Super thorough. But she was exhausted. She said, "Listening to podcasts takes me 4 times longer than it should because I'm constantly looking up words."
What changed?
I told her about this trick. I said, "Stop looking up words. Just listen. Try to get the overall meaning, except that you won't understand some words."
And?
At first, she was uncomfortable. She felt like she was missing things. But after a few weeks of listening this way, something clicked. She realized she was understanding so much more because she wasn't stressed. She was relaxed. She was getting the patterns.
Did her comprehension actually improve?
Dramatically. Because without the stress of looking up every word, she could focus on the content. She could understand the story or the topic. She could enjoy it.
And her confidence?
Through the roof. Because she realized she understood English better than she thought. She was just listening the wrong way.
So the trick was literally to stop trying so hard?
In a way, yes. Stop trying to understand every word. Start trying to understand the overall meaning. That's when real understanding happens.
Okay, so someone listening wants to start using this trick. How do they start?
Step 1. Pick something to listen to in English. A podcast, a video, a song, whatever. Something you're interested in.
Step 2, listen without pausing. Don't look up words, don't stop, just listen the whole way through.
Step 3. Don't focus on words. Focus on the overall meaning. What's the topic? What's the emotion? What's the story?
Step 4, after you're done listening, think about what you understood, not what you didn't understand, what you did understand.
Step 5. Repeat. The more you practice this way, the more natural it becomes.
And the key is, don't be frustrated about words you don't know. Native speakers also hear words they don't know. We just don't care. We keep moving forward.
So the 1% trick that native speakers won't tell you is this: focus on patterns and meaning instead of words and correctness.
That's it. That's the secret. And once you do this, everything changes. Your listening improves, your speaking improves, your confidence goes up.
This week, I want you to listen to English without looking up words. Just listen. Try to understand the overall meaning. And notice how much better you understand when you're not stressed about every word.
And realize that you understand English way better than you think. You're just looking in the wrong place. You're focusing on words when you should be focusing on patterns.
Thanks so much for listening to English Leap Podcast. We really appreciate you. Keep practicing, keep listening naturally, and remember, fluency is about patterns, not perfection.
And if you got value from this episode, please like and subscribe. Leave us a review. Tell us in the comments. Have you noticed yourself doing this trick already without realizing it?
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.